So many things have been confusing me, and I want to ask questions about them. This is not any kind of religious teaching, but definitely I am also going to bring in teachings from many religious groups. First of all, most of the teachings were inspired by some holy being, holy maybe spirit, but we are all made for carnal people, carnal minds to consume. Holy teachings for carnal minds, human beings. We tend to understand this the way, in our carnal state, right? Even though there have been claims of some spiritual states where you get to understand more than normal people do. So, but basically, what I'm going to talk about here is what I understood from some of these teachings in my carnal state, right? And then the confusions I'm having trying to elevate to the spiritual realm, because of course it has been said that to get to that level you have to consume some of these things to allow you like grow, right? So this is my journey of growing to a spiritual level, and the battles I'm having with consuming these teachings, right? So some of you definitely will also be in my shoes, like will be in state of confusion sometimes the way I am. So I am going to be bringing these confusions of mine bit by bit. The video will be long, but not too long. This is the first of so many that are lined up behind. Okay, the pillar of my faith. The reason why I am trying to be a good person, choosing good over evil, is so that I will inherit the promise made to people that lived good lives, right? Or lived good life. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Jewish, and so many other religions have promised some sort of celestial kind of place of rest for people that have struggled and passed through trials and tribulations. Islam particularly said a lot of things about how to live in trials and tribulations and conquer in all of them, to be able to rise on the resurrection day and then inherit a place, the Christianity referred to as paradise, right? So if I am playing a football match, for example, my whole target, soccer, okay, soccer, my target is to score, or the whole team it's struggling towards scoring a goal at the goalpost. So the reason why we are suffering and struggling and doing all of these things the right way is so that when we die, after these whole struggles are gone, we will inherit something. So sometimes I get worried and ask myself really deep questions. What if there is nothing to inherit? What if there is really no end to this? What if, so many what ifs, and I'm sure that most of you will also sometimes be in this kind of wonder. Why would animals just die and go? Trees die and go. And we like this that belong to the animal kingdom will die and continue somewhere else. Why? Wahala no dey tire Jesus, like something like that. So when the population won't it be too much? Like when is it why it was supposed to be, a cycle. You live, you die, others will come and live and die, others will come. So why piling up a long process like that? So in a bit to get answers to these confusions of mine, I began to search, right? I began to study. I began to take courses. I began to read. One person that believes that anything that is worth doing is worth doing well. So if I am saying something or believing in something, I need to really be sure. And when I don't have that assurance, I begin to look for answers and ask questions. So, so many religions have said so many things about the last day, Jehovah's Witness have told us about Amadgedon, paradise, those that will go to heaven will be maybe 144. It's in the Bible. Then Islam also said something about resurrection. Um, Catholicism had a more detailed elaboration on judgment. The Catechism of the Catholic Church has said once you die, your soul will go to the presence of God to be judged, and then your skin, your body will decay on earth. Let me just hold it here. There are other things said around it that I will talk about later. And so on and so forth. Many religions said many things. For example, the Latter Day Saints spoke about death and what will happen after it. Like if you die, you go to a spirit world, and the spirit world will be in two categories. So all that and all that, we are going to talk about them in details in this video. Okay, so this is not any religious kind of teaching. I am not representing any group. I'm representing myself. And stay tuned. This is going to wow you. I have so many analysis to bring along. This is not a sermon. It's not a preaching. Okay, so let's start from the Genesis, because I want to know where the heaven is. I want to know where the hell is, when is judgment day, and all of these things. Because if I am working towards going to heaven, I need to have an idea. Where is heaven? What's the history? Where is hell? You can agree with me that whenever we make mental pictures of heaven, we point towards the heaven up there, we point up. And when we want to talk about hell, we begin to point downwards. So let's talk about the history of creation, the Bible story of creation in Genesis chapter 1. Okay, Genesis is beginning, means beginning. So the beginning of everything we believe in. Okay, so in the beginning, chapter 1, verse 1, God created the heavens and the earth, right? This is a summary of the other things that are coming downwards, right? In the below verses. So in verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Each time I read this place, believe me, if I read this place 10 times, my confusion multiplies 10 times. So the understanding I had the first time I read it was even making more sense than the other times I read it. So now, God made heaven and earth. I don't know about other planets where they exist, but God made heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void. Right? I got one thing from here now. Then the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Two things. Now, first one, the darkness was not created by God. Right? So remember, we already got the summary from the first beginning. God created heaven and earth. Heaven and earth. So God was living somewhere else that was not heaven before he made heaven and earth. So where was God living? Are you getting what I'm saying? Whether it's one, two, three, or he has servants and other people, we're going to find out later. But at least let's concentrate now on God creating heaven and earth. So heaven was not existing before the creation of the earth. Heaven came the same time as the earth, right? This is one point. Then the earth was without form and void. Formless. It has no shape, no depth, no. You can't associate it with anything. You can't even say it's a smoke. It's there is no way, nothing to equate it with. Formless, full of darkness. And then darkness was on the surface of the deep. What deep? Something will have to have a shape before you can allocate depth to it. This is one. Where exactly was the face of the deep? Face of the deep, for goodness sake. This is not even a big problem. No problem. I understood there was darkness in that formless mass, right? Deep or breadth or length, wherever that darkness is. Let's keep that aside. We will get to that later. Now, my worst confusion on this first and second verses of the book of Genesis was where the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. The Spirit of God has something to do with God. Subsequently, in the other chapters of the Bible, you will get to know that Spirit of God is even God Himself. Now, God lived in that formless void, hovering over the face of the waters. Is there something you understood from this? The darkness existed before creation, and the water was also in existence before the creation. Because the Spirit of God, which I tend to understand that is associated with light, was hovering on the face of the water. Whereas, before this, we have been told that the shapeless, formless void was full of darkness. And which means this formless shape had water in it. It's not supposed to be full of darkness if the Spirit of God was hovering on the face of the waters. This is how it started. Verse 1 and verse 2 of this Bible chapter is trying to explain how the earth was, or how what we had before creation. Are you following? Then the creation started in verse 3. God said, "Let there be light." Second light. There was already Spirit of God. I'm trying to match or merge the other knowledge I already had about the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of God, always being associated with light, all right? Light of God. So maybe the Spirit was hovering but without its light. Maybe the light has not started manifesting at this point in time. Maybe. What do you think? That aside, God saw that the light was good. So if the Spirit of God that was hovering over the water was light, God was supposed to have experienced that light. So, was God seeing light for the first time? I don't know. I'm just meditating, right? Then God now divided the light from the existing darkness. God called light day and called darkness night. In verse 6, we now saw, in verse 6, God said, "Let there be firmament." Firmament, according to the dictionary, is the heavens or the sky. A similar meaning to it is a sphere or world viewed as a collection of people. So, but at this point, there were no people yet. So, a sphere. A sphere. So, God began to give shape to the thing. So, let there be firmament. Let there be heavens. Let there be sky. Or let there be a sphere, right? Or a collection. Or let there be heavens. I think it will be safer to say, let there be heavens, right? In verse 6, God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Calm down, I'm getting there. Then God divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters that were above the firmament. And God called the firmament heaven. You see what I'm saying? So, on the second day, after he created light the first day, on the second day, he created heaven. That was the day heaven was created. There was no heaven before the earth came into existence. What was created by God as heaven is a place in the sky, a collection in the sky that divided the waters into two. Water below the firmament and the water above the firmament. So there are some states, that is what science, I'm just trying to bring in knowledge of science. Some form of water that is like maybe evaporation or something else, but not liquid water. That is what I want to believe. Because liquid water has weight, and so force of gravity must keep it below. And then some other form of water are the ones that is above the heavens. My analysis could be wrong. This is my opinion, my view, right? So maybe there are some other waters in liquid form above. I don't know, but I'm looking for heaven. This is the point. I'm looking for where I will go after this whole suffering and tribulation. This is the essence of this video. So, and I have located it on the second day of creation. Firmament is heaven. And each time the holy books say we are going to heaven, God in heaven, you hear that all the time. God in heaven, God in heaven. So, is in the firmament, in the sky, between some form of water above it and some other water below it. So, meaning that God changed his abode after the creation. He was living somewhere we could not describe, probably in that formless void, before he also made a place for himself. So, at the same time as when he made a place for us, he also made a place for himself. So, heaven has some beginning. It's not like it was ever there, right? So let's go to verse 14. When God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night." Are you following me? On the first day, he had created the light and saw that it was beautiful. It was properly recorded that it was done on the first day. Right, so the Spirit of God was before the creation, but was not manifesting because it was in the darkness. Then God now created a light that he saw that it was beautiful. But the source was not the sun. Because on verse 14 was when he started creating the heavenly bodies. You know, let there be light in the firmament of heavens to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and for years. This is where the concept of calendar came. Okay, we have the lunisolar calendar, we have solar calendar where we got the Gregorian calendar we are using right now, and then we have the lunar calendar and we have seasonal calendar, right? There are other sub calendars based on maybe religion or whatever, but every other calendar has its base, you know, from either of from one of these four types of calendar. So that being said, let me go back to what I was saying about the heavenly bodies that were made on the fourth day. So the light he made was placed in the firmament, in the heavens, okay, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. The concept of calendar, right? We got to this point. And then God made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. The light that came on the first day of creation was different. It was not the sun, it was not the moon. Are you getting that we have many sorts of light? Light of God, the Spirit of God that was probably providing light for God before he created the earth. I'm so sorry for laughing, please. I didn't mean to laugh. And then the light that he created on the first day, and then the lights that he's beginning to create on the fourth day, the moon, the stars, place them in heaven, and then to shine to the earth. Now, with the way I'm placing my hand, it's beginning to look like the earth is below the heavens. Is that supposed to be so? Are you having that confusion too, or are you having that understanding, remember that the heaven is supposed to be at the middle of the earth, because there are other substances above the heavens, which are other collections of bodies of water. But God used the heaven to divide it into two, so that we have waters below and waters above, right? So now, the waters below is where he created the sea animals and stuff. The earth is under the heavens. You see now, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear. So it's below the heavens. So the earth is below the heavens, right? And it was so. And then in verse 10, God called the dry land earth. Okay? So, and gathered together the waters, and he called it the sea, and he saw that it was good. So, whenever he makes a new thing, he sees that it's good. When he made the light, he saw that it's good. So, meaning he had not seen light before, and he didn't know how good it was before he made it. Right? So now he made the earth. The earth is now, it's obviously below the heavens. So the earth is here, down here. Why we always do like this when we talk of the earth. So where are the other planets? The other 8 planets, where are they? Moving forward, after the lights were made, the great light to rule the day. So the light that was made on the first day was not, or is not, the light ruling the day. It's the one that was made on the fourth day. The one that is determining the seasons, years, the dates, and signs, right? Then the moon to rule the night. Then probably the stars is in between, because sometimes it shines mostly in the night, but we have learned that the stars are also there in the afternoon, but you just don't see it. So they shine brighter in the night. Let's not talk about fifth day, the food we are made and all of that and all of that. Let's rush to the sixth day, which is in verse 26. God said, let us make man in our image. Let us. At this point, maybe two people are involved. The Spirit of God, obviously, and then God Himself. Let us make man in our image. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Spirit of God is God Himself, because God is no human being, it's a spirit. So, both the Spirit of God and God is one and the same thing. So, that pronoun, us, plural pronoun. What do you think? What do you think? In our image. So if God is a spirit, what image does he really have? And he finally made something like this and said it's in his image. So God has a body, God has eyes, nose, mouth, hands, has breasts, and but he's a spirit. So is it that God is human, or is it that human is spirit? Are you getting where I'm going? It's either God has human attributes, or that human has God's attributes. Both assumptions can be correct. He made the human to have dominion over everything he created. So at this point in time, he is relegating powers to humans. So everything he created, he's not controlling. And he made living things for living things to be controlled. So he made human to control the things that were made. Let's read it. Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fishes of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over everything, you know, God created. So he created them, male and female. This is another summary of other explanations coming in chapter 2. To humans, he gave trees to eat. And then to the animals, he gave also trees to eat, right? So we are not supposed to eat the animals. Our food is supposed to be trees, the green things, and the same instructions were also given to the animals. Did you get the discrepancy? Maybe we can just read it in whole. And God said, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed to you, it shall be food. Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. You see? So he gave us herbs and everything it yields, trees and for food. And also to the beast of the earth, he also gave green herbs for food. And it was so. Then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So when did we start eating animals? How did that come about? And how did some animals begin to eat fellow animals? This is it. So now we got one thing. The heaven that I'm looking for was created the day the earth was created. It's hanging somewhere above the earth. And now, where does God live? We are going to find out. Where are we going after we die? The Jehovah's Witness spoke of a place where God is going to prepare a meal, an evening meal. The doctrine of the Jehovah's Witness. Jehovah's Witness are Christians, right? They spoke of Amadgedon, spoke of 6 billion people that will live through Armageddon, right? Um, and they got their idea of the Armageddon from Revelation chapter 19, verse 17 and 18. The Jehovah's Witness really are holding on to, the word paradise. And I'm going to surprise you with some teachings about the paradise. Okay, where is the paradise? Where is the paradise? Is paradise heaven? Where is paradise? Is it where we go after we die, or are we supposed to occupy paradise while we are on earth? The Jehovah's Witnesses constantly say, or they have always maintained, that the paradise is on earth, and that you may necessarily not need to die to be in paradise. I have read a lot of things about Jehovah's Witness, believe me, but if I'm wrong, correct me. You are not supposed to die to be in paradise. Armageddon will happen. And then the good people, those that were really good, that did what Jehovah prescribed, will live through Armageddon. They will enter the paradise. And sometimes the lay Jehovah's Witness people will tell you that, you see, the earth is the paradise. Nobody, it's only a few people, maybe 144 that can sing, that will actually go to heaven. But the rest of them that did the right thing, that lived righteous life, will be on earth in paradise. So, but there has to be something to happen for that separation to be made. And that thing that is going to happen is Armageddon, right? So, now, where is paradise? And they will wave like this and say, all the beautiful houses will belong to them. So sometimes if I want to tease Jehovah's Witness, I will say, all of us are laboring for you guys. And when we die, you people will just come and occupy our houses. So all these mansions we are building it for the Jehovah's Witness. We just tease them this way. So now let's check where paradise is. What is paradise? Is that the heaven that we are? Did heaven change, or will heaven at some point transform to become paradise? Or is it the same heavens above the earth? Or is paradise supposed to be in heaven? So let's find that out, okay? Religiously speaking, paradise is supposed to be a place of exceptional happiness and delight, right? So the word paradise passed through different phases or different stages, or the word paradise is not originally an English word, okay? So the formation, but I'm not going to begin to tell you about the etymology of the word paradise, how the word came about, right? Yeah, or what it means. So I'm going to just briefly say that it's from something like a pi root, like sticking or setting up of something. Paradise came from the word wall, like building a seclusion, like a safe place. So the word paradise is a seclusion, a setup of a happy place. Okay, let's go a little bit into what many religious believe think about paradise. Okay, in the Second Temple era Judaism, paradise came to be associated with Garden of Eden. Surprise! I said in the Second Temple era Judaism back then. So when Adam was created, the Bible recorded that he was placed in the Garden of Eden. Hold on, just hold on. And prophecies of restoration of Eden and transferred of paradise to heaven. Are you following? These were all associated with the Second Temple era Judaism belief of paradise. That paradise was eventually transferred from the garden, or the meaning of paradise rather was moved from Garden of Eden to heavens. So meaning that when the earth was made, paradise was on earth. So the Jehovah's Witness were right then. Adam and Eve were placed in paradise. The paradise is within the Garden of Eden. But after they sinned, so to speak, they were removed from the garden, from the paradise part of the garden, chased further into the garden, outside the paradise. And then the angels with the swords of fire were placed at the gate of paradise to prevent them having access into paradise. So I believe in the paradise section of the Garden of Eden, the lions were not aggressive, they don't bite. But then outside the garden, outside the paradise, further into the Garden of Eden, we begin to see a lot. Sorry, we began to, we began to see lions that hurt, other animals and people. So that was for Second Temple era Judaism. Okay, but in the apocryphal Apocalypse of Moses, there is another idea to support what the Second Temple era Judaism proposed about where paradise is found. That Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise. They were expelled from paradise, but not from Eden after the fall of man. That's after they sinned. So, having been tricked by Satan, we know all that story, but I'll bring them later on. There are videos coming behind where I will talk a lot about the fall of man. So, and after the death of Adam, the archangel Michael carried Adam's body to be buried in paradise, in the third heaven. In the third heaven. So, this was proposed by the apocryphal Apocalypse of Moses. If you want details of what I just said, this is where you're going to find it. So even though Adam sinned and was expelled from paradise into further into the Garden of Eden, when he died, his body was carried and was buried in paradise. So in this context, paradise is on earth, right? Known as third heaven. So first heaven, let's just assume, but I will later tell you where is first heaven. But at this point, before I confuse you with all of that, let's assume that first heaven was where God was living before he created a place for himself, before he created the second heaven, where he lives, where is on the firmament, where they packed into after creation. And then the third heaven is the paradise in the Garden of Eden, where Adam was buried. In the New Testament, if you go to the book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 43, Jesus spoke on the cross about paradise. Modern Christians, this is the teaching or the explanation of paradise they have. The one that Jesus spoke about on the cross in Luke chapter 23, verse 43, when he spoke to the thief that requested for him to remember him in his kingdom. And he said, "Today you shall be with me in paradise." Another place paradise is mentioned in the New Testament is in the 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4. Paul trying to describe the third heaven as paradise. So, are we getting the concept of heaven, paradise? There is another place paradise was mentioned in the Bible and the New Testament. It's in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 7, alluding to the tree of life that was mentioned in Genesis chapter 2, verse 8. And that was also talking about the paradise on earth. Okay, then let's see what the Jewish eschatology believes about paradise. Okay, the higher Garden of Eden is called the Garden of Righteousness. Okay, it was created since the beginning of the world. So at the same time as the world was created, the paradise was created, Garden of Righteousness. According to Judaism, in summary, paradise is on earth. Okay, there is another group known as Rabbinic Judaism that came out of Judaism. These ones, you can relate the word to rabbi, right? To the rabbis. So Rabbinic Judaism. There is a little difference in their explanation of what paradise is from what Judaism thought. They said there are two spiritual places of rest for people. I am not sure if it's for the living or for the dead, but I am assuming it's for the dead. They have a lower Gan Eden and some other people that lived normal life, not very spiritual. They will go to this lower Garden of Eden that is supposed to be terrestrial, right? But then those that lived a very good life, immortal souls, whether Jewish or non-Jewish, that's what they believe. Okay, but immortal souls that cannot die, I believe those that really lived a righteous life. So they transformed, rather dying, they transformed. Immortal souls cannot die, right? So they will live in the greater Garden of Eden. And this one is celestial, it's in the heavens. It's not terrestrial, it's celestial. Okay. So this is where they refer to as paradise.